Hi and welcome to another Treehouse tutorial, and in this session we are going to look at the addition of fractions and also the subtraction of fractions. Now we're just doing a little bit of a recap here, so this video is mainly aimed at year 5, 6, but this kind of takes us back a little bit of a step just to get the foundations in. For example, if we were adding fractions that had the same denominator, just to quickly recap this, we've got a quarter add 2 quarters, and in this case we'd be saying that actually the denominator, this is just a little pictorial representation to help us with this abstract concept, but we've got here that the quarters remain the same, okay, the denominator remains the same because we're working in quarters all the way through this, but actually when we've got here, some very quick shading, 1 quarter looking something like this, 2 quarters perhaps looking something like this, equivalent to a half. We're hopefully seeing that when you actually have these two together and you add them together, we've got that bit shaded and we've got these bits shaded here as well. You should see that we end up with 3 quarters because quite simply 1 add 2 was 3. So we've added the numbers on the numerator, we've added the numerators rather, and we've maintained the same denominator. Okay, so that's just a little recap. But the problem occurs when we have something like this. So let's just throw it out there. We've got 1 quarter this time, add 2/3. Okay, now we've got a bit of an issue because we don't have fractions in the same denominator. Okay, and the rule that we need to apply here in maths is that we need to have the fractions within the same denominator. So we're now looking for something called the lowest common denominator. The lowest common denominator in this case, for instance, again you might be screaming it out there, is 12. Let me just check that that's definitely right. Yep, the check is done and that is right. We are definitely right to go ahead with 12 as the lowest common denominator. Now, watch what I'm going to do here. This is the way that I set this up. Some people like to take shortcuts. Sometimes when they take the shortcuts though, they get it wrong. Okay, so if you're learning this quite early on, you should really be looking to set it out like this. So we've got 1 quarter add 2/3 is gonna, now we're gonna turn it into an addition of 12ths. So I'm going to use my colour coding here. This is really important. So for example, there's a red here. What have I done to get from my 4 here to this? And you might think, well, why have I got a line there? Well, I'm saying that this fraction here is going to be equivalent to that fraction there. Okay, so if you want to kind of do it like this as well and say this is going to be the red fraction, as it were, what have I done to get from my 4 to 12? Well, I've actually multiplied, because we're going to be thinking about multiplying throughout this. I've multiplied by 3. Whatever you do to the denominator, do to the numerator as well. So in this case, I'm going to multiply by 3 because that's consistent with that. So 1 times 3 is 3. And hopefully we know that actually we've got an equivalent fraction here, 1 quarter and 3/12. Okay. However, when we come along to here, we're now going to sort of imagine that this is the blue one. Okay. Just a useful way for us to visually see how this arithmetic method works. So this time we're saying, well, to get from the 3 to the 12, we've actually multiplied by, what's it going to be? Yeah, it's going to be by 4. Okay, and then the 4, again up on the top, the multiplied by 4 on the top. Just be careful not to just throw a 4 into there. I've seen that happen plenty of times before. But actually what we're doing is we're saying 2 multiplied by 4, which is going to give us 8. Okay, so now we're at 3/12 plus 8/12. Be wary of your sign here, right? Because we might be subtracting in this particular one, and therefore we've got to look really carefully. But obviously we've remembered here we were adding, so we're saying 3/12 add 8/12 is going to be 11/12, applying what we talked about at the start there. Okay, I've said at the start of the video that I would do some subtraction, but you can see here how the principle would just be exactly the same. Okay, there is a video that's coming further on from this that talks about adding and subtracting fractions that are greater than 1. Okay, and they're the ones where the subtractions get a little bit tougher. But when it comes here, from when you're just subtracting, just be wary of that sign. Okay, so that principle should help you out with adding and subtracting fractions within 1